Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics. This is episode number 1520 and Doubleshot number 1414. I have basically one Marvel trade, one DC trade. Before I get started today, there will be no Eden Zero review today because the series had to take a week off. I'm like, okay. So, technically, aside from this video, there will be like manga reviews for My Hero Academia, even though there's no new anime today, but I'm reviewing the new chapter manga along with Black Clover. I'm gonna do those two next to finish this one here, and I'm also gonna do a review for news episodes of, well, the finale for Combatants Will Be Dispatched, and the news episodes for One Piece and Boruto, and of course I will also be doing reviews for the One Piece dub. Probably doing the first one today, probably just after I do my next when I put out my videos. When I finish up my whatever manga I do next, either probably gonna be probably after My Hero. I'll probably go ahead and basically do my review for that. We'll have to put the review for that one. Okay, now first trade to talk about is The Amazing Spider-Man Full Circle. It's a giant-sized one-shot. Came out just a couple years ago. Now, I read something that Jerry Conway was involved with this. I think he may have wrote the forward for this thing, but not the story. Nope, the story itself has got a bunch of writers, and this will shock you what writers wrote this thing. Who wrote the story? Jonathan Hickman, Gary Duggan, Nick Spencer, Kelly Thompson, Al Ewing, Chip Zdarsky, and Jason Aaron. Two of those writers are very important. Nick Spencer being the writer who is currently going to be the outgoing writer for Amazing Spider-Man, and Chip Zdarsky wrote Spectacular Spider-Man and Severe Force Spider-Man. Jonathan Hickman, I don't think aside from this book, I think the only time he wrote Spider-Man I can think of was for his run for Avengers. Aside from that, nothing. Gary Duggan, he wrote him when he popped up in Deadpool. Wrote a couple issues of Spider-Man Deadpool. Aside from that, nothing much else. How about Al Ewing? Al Ewing. Well, when he popped up My Avengers. Well, yeah, for both the second one of My Avengers and the Captain Marvel My Avengers. But aside from that, I can't think of any other book that Al Ewing wrote where he features Spider-Man. Jason Aaron. War of the Realms, Original Sin. I think that's it. Yeah. What about Kelly Thompson? As far as I can tell, I can't think of a book aside from this one that she's written that features Spider-Man. I mean, as far as I can tell, she's never written any of the spin-off books. Not that I can think of, no. Most of the put Kelly Thompson's the current writer for two books right now, and that's Captain Marvel, which is really good, and Black Widow, which is pretty decent. Though Kelly Thompson is one of those writers at Marvel where Marvel just can't allow the books to succeed more than a freaking year. Because it just seems as though, with the exception of Black Widow and Captain Marvel, all the rest of the books keep getting axed that she's worked on. Like for example, did anybody notice Deadpool ended at the start of this year? I don't think anybody noticed that. Yes, because Marvel just abruptly ended that series at the end of that run after only 10 issues. 10! Making it the shortest volume of the entirety of Deadpool. And do Marvel announce a replacement writer for Deadpool? As far as I can tell, no. There is no replacement writer for Deadpool. Which makes this the first time I can think of. They technically did this last year, where, though in the case of that was because basically the books were launched 2 months later, but you see, they ended it back in January. The final issue came out in January. That was 7 months ago. As far as I can tell, the only time you see Deadpool pop up nowadays is he pops up, I think he popped up like one issue of Savage Avengers, and he popped up for Hellfire Gala, and that's it. That's literally all Deadpool's done since this book ended. And I'm like, really? So, You end this book and you do nothing with this character. Character's still uber popular. And no book for him. Alright, as for the artwork for this one shot. It's by Chris Bachalo, who has some history with Spider-Man. Yes, he does. Greg Smallwood, I don't think he does, I can think of. Michael Aldred, yes. He drew when he popped up for an issue of Silver Surfer. Can't think of any book he popped up in, he drew by him. Doubleshot, I'm not really familiar with this one. The Mark Bagley, oh yeah, people do know that Mark Bagley has drawn Spider-Man 4. As a matter of fact, he's the current artist for the Amazing Spider-Man book right now. Yeah, he's the current artist for it. But people know him more better when it comes to Spider-Man is be the original artist for Ultimate Spider-Man. Excuse me, yes, this one shot. Well, the other artists are Chris Spruce, Rachel Schlicht, and Cameron Stewart. Now you're probably thinking, Cameron Stewart, that name sounds familiar. Didn't this person also work on Batgirl? Yes, and also worked on Gotham Academy and Black Canary. Yes, the last known Black Canary book was basically done with this particular person. Also, for some reason, I'm not really sure why, Tim Townsend, who is an artist. He was the artist for recently as Doctor Strange. He was a replacement artist when I think he took over the interior artwork after Chris Bachalo stopped doing the interior artwork for the book. For some reason, he just did the inking for this book, which is kind of odd because he's an artist. His pencil, anyways. The cover art, oh boy. Rod Reese with Chris Bachalo, Tim Townsend, Rick Smallwood, Mike Aldred, Laura Aldred, who is basically Mike Aldred's wife and his colorist. Valerio Shanti. I mean, people do know this particular artist as the artist behind the Tony Stark Iron Man series. Good artist. The name sounds Italian. Mattia Leo, Chris Bruce, Carl Story, Dave McCraig, Rachel Schlicht, Teria Ferrero, who is a colorist, Cameron Stewart, Nathan Felborn, who is also one of the colorists, Mark Bagley, John Dell, and Frank Duma. Yeah, this, simply put, is, well, the best way to describe this particular one-shot story. It's a story where Spider-Man works with S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes, to stop some come out werewolf stuff. Yeah, this is a weird one. It's not terrible. It's actually pretty good. It's weird, but it's good. I like it. I don't know how everybody else felt, but I didn't know this book even existed until I saw it pop up. Like, apparently the library got their hands on this book. I didn't know this book even existed. Yeah, the book came out 2 years ago. I must have missed it when it came out because I didn't hear a peep about this book at all. I mean, you ever heard anybody even talk about this book? By the way, this book is $21 for this giant-sized one-shot. Full circle. It seems like it's one of Marvel's original graphic novels. That's what it seems like to me. It's definitely good, definitely. They show some interior artwork. I mean, obviously you start up with Chris Bachalo. People do know his artwork very well. As a matter of fact, from what I've heard, this art style was loose inspiration for the writer of The Gray Man. Yes. Now, these various parts, I'm very few. Part 1 is done by Gary, Jonathan Hickman. He does the first. Yeah, there's like 5 parts in the story. Yes, 5 parts. You have Nick Spencer working with the Aldreds. You have Gary Duggan who does part 2 with Greg Smallwood. Part 1 is Chris Bachalo, Tim Townsend, Al Berry. Part 6, Jeff Sodesky, Rachel Schlicht, and Tony Ferrero. Part 7 is done by Jason Aaron. Well, Part 4 is done by Kelly Thompson. Part 5 is Al Ewing. Part 8 is pretty much mostly everybody here. Yeah, and the art becomes really weird afterwards. I think this is Greg Smallwood at this point. This art looks so weird. I mean, it looks like a very bad CGI thing. It just looks so weird seeing this. Like, first you have Spider-Man in his symbiote suit. And you have basically stuff with AIM, werewolves. It is, the best to describe this, weird at best. Yes. Heck, We even have a clear homage to Amazing Spider-Man 42 with Mary Jane doing this. Yep. That's a few minor homages to Spider-Man Legacy. But that's the most obvious one, per se, where it's a nod to basically classic Spider-Man. Well, look at this for you. Spider-Man becomes a werewolf. In case you might ask, has Spider-Man ever turned to a other creature aside from a spider? Aside from this and him returning to the man spider? Nope, never has. We also have, apparently, we have Spider-Ham appears in here. And he gets his hands in the Venom symbiote. It's so hilarious. Eventually, he does get cured over the course of the story. And then we have a guest appearance by Wolverine, of all people. Yes, Wolverine is here. Just cuz. And then we have Nick Fury basically running around without a shirt on. For, like, no reason. Maybe show his massive abs. And then we have a sudden appearance by the High Evolutionary. Oh my gosh, the High Evolutionary. Yeah, the High Evolutionary. And then we have Spider-Man turning into a pig. No, he's not become a Spider-Ham. It's just basically sort of like a humanized version of Spider-Pig. Then we have a blatant nod to Kraven's Last Hunt here for, like, no reason. Oh, yeah, and by the way, the whole giant High Evolutionary, just a robot. Yep. And it turns out a lot of it was simply, like, time travel in the future. And then we have, apparently, like, the Punisher. Yes, the Punisher. Maybe that was Gary Duggan's contribution to it. It was great page here. I think this is done by since reaching toward the end of this, I think this is done by one of the artists of the book. This is done by, I don't think it's Bagley. No, it's not Bagley. Bagley has got this thing. I think it's one of the artists. I think it must be Cameron Stewart. Bagley has got the reputation for giving people kind of like larger lips. Yes, if anybody's ever seen any of this guy's artwork, he's known for making, giving a lot of characters, male or female, like a little bit larger lips, but making them very, very good looking people. Like he makes the women smoking hot. Like doesn't alter their appearance much at all, but makes them very attractive. That's probably the reason people love Mark Bagley, because he makes all the women so smoking hot. Oh, by the way, they have this mysterious person who called off a bathroom. Who is this person? Don't know, because the book never explains it. Yep. It's a good book, definitely. I'm going to give the book roughly a 9 out of 10. It's definitely good. Alright, next up, we have the finale for Sinestro. Yes, it finally reached Volume 2 at the previous reviewing Volumes 3 and 4 for the series. Now, this book does collect issues 6 to 11 and the annual for Sinestro. Excuse me. They also included a story from Secret Origins in here, which is not credited in here for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Now, I'm not going. Now, in the case of the Secret Origins one, that's just basically a retelling of Sinestro's classic origin story before he became like the leader of the Lancer Corps. 6 to 8, not going to discuss these because I've already discussed these already when I discussed Godhead. In the case of 9 to 11, the annual, that's simply put basically Sinestro versus Mongol. Yes, Mongol, where he battles him and takes War for himself. Yep, War becomes the official base operations for the Sinestro Corps for pretty much the rest of the series at this point. Yep, becomes the base of operations. We also have with Bakura, her getting used to being a Yellow Lantern, which is interesting to say the least, because that was one of the most, like, at least Colin Bunn basically got a chance to have a good stake out of the Godhead. Yeah, that's the biggest consequence coming out of Sinestro. They got a new member. In the case of Green Lantern, like, a lot of their books, not much. I mean, 2 of the books got freaking 3 books got canceled not long after Godhead. This actually one of 2 that continued. This continued on for 2 years. Even after. Like, wow, it's quite something. Yeah, and of course you have Ethan Skyver as one of the artists of this book, along with a boatload of artists. Oh my gosh, there's a lot on here. We have Brad Walker, Andrew Hainsey, Dale Inglesham, Martin Concedo, Scott Hanna, of course, Ethan Skyver, Igor Lema, Jose Martin Jr., Gerardo Borges, Oscar Albert, Victor Buzz, Dana Warren Johnson, Marco Clunk, Andy Kahn, and Roan Clunk. The cover art is done by Gillian March Tamamori. I'm going to give this book, the stuff in here is really good. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. The thing I felt this though was unnecessary put in this trade was the Godhead issues. Yes, I have said this repeatedly. Like, DC, like, from the period of when they started collecting trades in 2012 for New 52 stuff, from 2012 to 2016, they had this really, really bad habit of collecting, like, a single crossover that crosses multiple books. Like, instead of combine into one trade, like you're supposed to, and then skip over those, like, have the next issues in the very next trade afterwards. You could basically put the trade, if you want to know what happens next, read Godhead, come right back here. You could do that. Nope, we couldn't do that for some stupid reason. We had to have basically, like in the case of Godhead, a single crossover. They crossed over with not only this book, Green Lantern, Grand Two Guardians, Grand Two Core, Red Lanterns, 5 series. And you had the crossover collected in 6 trades. 6! It was, like, this is not the only crossover subject to this. Like, apparently, like, all the Green Lantern crossovers did this. I mean, now in the case of Rise Third Army, well, in the case of that one, I think that one along with, what was the other one? It was, what was that one? It was, oh yes, Rat the First Lantern. Rat the First Lantern, that should have been just one trade for that one. That's just my opinion anyways. Like, because that felt like an actual crossover, all the issues connected to each other. Rise Third Army, well, mostly you can say that Green Lantern Corps and Green Lantern connected to each other, but not Red Lanterns or Green Lantern Guardians. Those two were separate. Like, you could have kept that just, well, in the case of Rise, you could have kept it as one trade, like, you could have it as one trade, and then have, like, a single trade that collect all the issue zeros. Yeah. You could have just done that. Nope, we couldn't do that for some stupid reason. Yeah, I have no idea why the heck this was. It's one of the most baffling things. Of course, Green Lantern had the other one stuff with this. As a matter of fact, all the Superman crossovers did the same thing. Like, Hell on Earth, Krypton Returns, Doomed, Found Laser Superman, and Savage Dawn. 5 crossover Superman had, and they couldn't keep it in one trade. Of course, not the only ones. You also have the Culling. Same thing with that one. Along with Robin War. Yes, Robin War was collected more in one trade. What was the one basically did? Let me think here. Trinity War. That was another one. Fury of Blight. Yes, Fury of Blight was collected more in one freaking trade. Like in the case of one of the Just Like Dark trades, I think it was Volume 4. Like, if you got basically Fury of Blight, skip over that trade. It is completely unnecessary. And you can get the next 2 trades, zero problem. Of course, that's just my opinion anyways. But yeah, DC had this big, humongous problem. Like, they would do this constantly. Oh, and by the way, unlike in the case of, like, the trades for the Culling, we actually have a recap of what happened in between. This book, no. Not at all. Like, if DC ever wanted to do, like, Sinestro's a good series, definitely. I would definitely think it could deserve, like, another, like special reprinting type of thing. Here's what you do for the very first trade. Like, you can have the first 5 issues, the Villain's Month issue, but don't put in 6 to 8. Skip those issues. Skip them. Because they're part of a crossover. You can just have the first 5 issues, along with 9-11, the annual, and the Villain's Month issue, and the sequel issue, and you would not miss anything. And then you have the very next trade, where You would go now. At that point, you would have about 11 issues left to go. Okay, fine. You put those 11 issues in there, plus because they were included in uh, the trades for Sinestro. Just put in the Lobo issues, like to put like the last 4 issues plus the annual for Lobo. You could put those in the issues in too, and wouldn't hurt the trades at all. Nope. You could just basically trim this down from 4 trades to freaking 2. And you could do this with all the other trades. You could just basically just take out all the crossover stuff, keep it just one trade. One trade. You don't need to have 5 or 6 trades to collect a single crossover. Like, it is stupid. Really stupid. And I guess someone at DC must have realized that, because anybody ever noticed, though, the first crossover Rebirth, Night of Monster Men, where, like, you had basically these following series part of the crossover. You had Detective Comics, Nightwing, and Batman. Yes, you had these three. Actually, I don't think Batman was part of this crossover. It was mostly just Detective and Nightwing, and I think it was Detective Comics, Nightwing. I think that was it. I think it may have been all Batman. I'm not sure, but yeah, like, you know what they did for the first issue for Nightwing? They collect the opening story, which was simply 4 issues, and you know what they did? They skipped over 5 and 6. They didn't throw in the trade. They skipped over them and go into straight the next 2 issues. Like, that is good. Why couldn't DC do this from the period of 2012 to 2016? They could not be bothered to do this. It is so stupid. I know this is an old rant. I think a lot of people agree with me that this was stupid. If you have a crossover, 1 trade is enough, not 6. Okay? So yeah, that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned for the next 2 reviews. Next one's going to be Black Clover. And then My Hero, and of course, I'm going to do like my re-review for One Piece. Well, success and dub stuff. Okay? Next video. Bye.